Plant breeders from around the globe are constantly coming up with tougher, more beautiful flowers for our gardens. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Join me as we take a look at the fascinating world of new flower varieties. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. In today's show, we're going to focus on one of my favorite topics. That's flowers. We're going to look at some new varieties, and we'll visit our friends at Sierra Azul Nursery in California, where you'll get a glimpse of their drought-tolerant test garden for perennials. And Goldsmith seed is awaiting your arrival as well. I can't wait to show you the incredible new annuals this company is producing. And I also want to share with you some tips on growing one of my favorite garden plants, this beautiful salvia called Black and Blue. I'll answer some commonly asked questions and give you a few questions to think about if you want to grow this plant. And you don't want to miss my recipe for honey glazed squash. First, let's make our way to Sierra Azul Nursery in California and see what it is they have growing in their drought-resistant test garden. We'll do that next, so don't go away. Now here's a garden that can really take the heat. Let's see what Jeff Rosendale of Sierra Azul Nursery has cooking.
Well, what we're trying to do is combine plants that do well in what we call a dry garden setting where we only water once a month, and combine different colors and textures and forms to create a real pleasing look of kind of a tapestry of plant forms.
Now I noticed that in most of these display beds, they're raised.
Right. Well, the reason we've done that is, one, for aesthetic reasons, because I feel that mounding up can create a nice height variation, which gives you a look that you can't get necessarily with a flat garden or a flat grounded garden. And another reason, probably the most important reason we did it here, is we get inundated with water in the wintertime, and our loam soil is only about 16 inches deep. And so it gets very soggy. So the first year we did this garden, about 6 years ago, we lost a lot of plants. So we started raising the beds up, and we noticed a big difference.
Now Jeff, this looks like Rosa mutabilis, the butterfly rose, but it's much pinker than the one I grow.
This is a sport of the Rosa chinensis mutabilis. This is called Mateo silk butterfly. The shrub roses do really well here. They tend to be a lot more disease resistant, and of course they're very drought tolerant also.
I think roses are much tougher than people think they are or give them credit for being.
Oh, I believe that.
Now, it looks like you've got gaura growing around here, which I love because it's so loose and ethereal.
Right, gaura from the southwest is a very tough garden plant, very drought resistant. What I like about the gaura, in conjunction with what you said with the loose feel, is that it has almost a wand-like, grass-like flair to it, the way it moves in the breeze. I'm really fond of the pink form of this plant. The sea hollies are really tough and really drought tolerant, and I know you know they make great cut flowers.
They do indeed. I grow this one in my garden, but I have to say that the blue that I get with mine isn't as intense as yours.
I would be happy if this plant reseeded in just about every bed in the garden. That would not disappoint me. I just love the color. It's a great plant.
Yeah, and it just works so well in contrast with the grasses and the gaura. And of course, here's the pink you were talking about, the pink gaura.
There's the pink mixed in with the white, and I really love the dark pink, and I think it looks really good with this blue of the Eryngium.
These display gardens really do give you ideas for plant combinations.
Right. Well, I would think that this is a little more what you would see in England with some of the English borders when you have the mixed perennial borders. A lot of things growing in a myriad together, a lot of complementary colors and textures together in a kind of a tapestry form.
What's nice about this combination is the plants that we see here can take dry conditions, and they're all easy to grow.
Right. Well, they have to be, because it's a big garden. We don't have a lot of people taking care of it. So the maintenance factor is something we always are thinking about.
Now here's a plant that I use a lot. It's so dramatic, it's just hard to beat.
Right. I call this Verbena bonariensis, and I think you have another name.
Yeah, verbena on a stick.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to start using that name.
Well, when you think of verbena, you think of that low-growing mass that clings to the ground, and of course this is one of the certainly more upright cousins.
Well, people are really becoming endeared with verbenas, and especially this verbena because it's a taller one, because of the butterfly attraction.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Butterflies love this plant.
They really do. And look at this Arctic summer Verbascum. Gosh, what a great contrast, this clear yellow with the verbena.
You're right, I think that's a great color combination of the bright sulfur yellow and the dark lavender of the verbena.
And of course you can never go wrong with that wonderful gray foliage.
I agree.
Russian sage is one of my favorites.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Perovskia is a great plant, and it does really well here, and it's adaptable to a lot of different climatic zones too. That's one I like a lot.
Clearly you can see you've got a passion for plants just walking through the nursery.
Right, and I think that's probably going to continue.
Well, good. Well, Jeff, thank you for a wonderful tour. It's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure, Alan. Come back anytime.
When we come back, we'll take a closer look at how these flowers eventually get to our gardens. Stay with us. Goldsmith Seeds is full of beautiful up-and-coming annuals that you don't want your garden to be without. Let's find out how they produce such magnificent blooms. Nestled along the rolling hills of Central California is a magnificent tapestry of color. These are the trial gardens at Goldsmith Seeds, one of the premier producers of seed for the nursery trade. Joel Goldsmith, company president and son of the founder, gave me a tour and explained the process of developing new varieties of annual flowers. Joel, how long have you all been in business?
Well, we started in business in 1962. My parents started the company, and it's kind of grown from there. Our main production operations are in Guatemala, where we went to in 1966. And then we have production sites also in Kenya. We send the parent lines of the hybrids down to Guatemala, and they increase the parent lines and then cross those to produce the seed that we end up selling. We're trying to develop plants that perform better for the home gardener, for the consumer in their yard, or for the professional grower.
Now, Joel, in this greenhouse, I see an amazing range of geraniums. What's going on in here?
Well, this is the foundation of our geranium breeding program. These are all the various inbred lines. If you take a plant that you have in your garden and you produce seed on that plant alone and don't allow pollen from any other plant to go in there, that becomes an inbred. It's breeding within itself, and the more times you do that, the narrower the gene pool is.
This one with the dark leaf is really attractive to me. Tell me about it.
Well, this is something that's not yet on the market. Strictly a number for the plant breeder at this stage. But what we've got is this characteristic where instead of just having the small zone on the leaf that a normal geranium would have,
Right.
the leaf is all dark.
Yes.
With a green fringe around the edge.
So the zone has been expanded and darkened.
That's right, and it covers virtually the whole leaf surface area except for the very outside edge.
Yeah, nice effect. The color is really outstanding too. The clear pink contrasted with this almost chocolate brown is really attractive.
We've got the characteristic in the leaf. What we need to get now is all the various colors that are available for geraniums with that leaf habit.
So the goal here is to come up with a range of geraniums with this beautiful leaf, but in a wide range of bloom color.
That's right.
Joel, I understand that Goldsmiths is an all-American selections trial location. How does that fit into the work being done here?
Well, a little background on All-American Selections. They're an independent testing organization founded in the 30s, where new varieties from companies such as ours are submitted every year, grown side by side with the best products of that type that are available in the marketplace, and the very best receive an All-American Selections Award.
Tell me a little bit about what we're seeing in this field. I mean, this isn't all the All-American Selections trial.
No, only a small portion of this represents All-American trial. The majority of what you see behind us is what we refer to as our living catalog. These are all the varieties that we've developed over the years and are offering for sale. But what we're really trying to do is create something memorable that stands out from everybody else's products. These are the fantasy petunias, where I think we did a good job coming up with a name.
Yes.
That creates an image.
Where does Goldsmith, as a seed producer and developer of new annuals, fit in this large industry of annual producers?
Well, we're actually quite a ways away from the consumer. We develop the new varieties and produce the seed, which is a mechanism of transmitting our work along the line. That seed then goes to a seed distributor somewhere in the world. And the majority of that seed is then resold to a professional grower who grows a plant that's going to go in somebody's garden.
Yeah, so that professional grower grows off the plant, ships them off to the garden center, and there's where you see them on a Saturday morning when you're ready to plant them in your own garden.
That's correct.
Yeah. Joel, thanks for taking the time to show me around Goldsmith today. It's really exceptional.
Well, Alan, it's always a pleasure to see you, and good luck in the rest of your travels.
Since we're talking color, I want to introduce you to one of my favorite plants, known for its deep, saturated color. It's called Salvia Black and Blue. We'll take a look at it when we come back, so don't go away. Step into any nursery or garden center during the spring and you'll see the fruits of plant breeders' labor. This kaleidoscope of color is truly amazing and inspiring. In today's show, we're looking at some exceptional flowers and how these varieties go from an idea to reality, and how old-fashioned favorites are improved upon. Take, for instance, this wonderful salvia. Its dark, rich color works so beautifully with this pale lavender lisianthus. You know, I grow Salvia Black and Blue in my garden, not only for its display in the flower bed, but as a cut flower. You can tell just by looking at this plant that perennial specialist John Bell of the Flower Fields has really dedicated a lot of time and attention to selecting just the right plants. I had an opportunity to speak with John about Salvia Black and Blue at a marketplace for new plant introductions. John, I have to say I'm so enthusiastic about salvias. They're such great garden plants.
They really are. These give us some tremendous structure, and they can tolerate full sun.
I can't imagine my garden without them. They bloom from, well, really sort of late spring down in zone 7 all the way until the first hard frost.
Yeah, and the structure of these things is absolutely excellent. This particular one is going to get up to about 2.5 foot tall and just give you that tremendous variation from the black little cup all the way up to through that magenta blue flower.
It's just gorgeous. Hence the name Black and Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, this particular salvia is one that would only be perennial up till about, what, zone 7?
Yeah, you get much outside of Georgia, and it's not going to do real well because it is a tender perennial.
But it would make an outstanding annual in any garden.
The performance of these things, even planted in Pennsylvania, where I'm from, would be excellent because you're going to get this kind of color all summer long.
What kinds of plants do you usually associate with salvias in your garden?
Well, sometimes I do combination plantings with other salvias as well, because you can get all those variations in blue colors. So things like Salvia numerosa, something like East Friesland,
yes,
or maybe Viola Klose.
Right.
You know, and they're throughout the greenhouses here. You're going to find those. They will come into color about the same time and give you some excellent texture. So.
And then some of the late bloomers like Mexican sage, Salvia leucantha.
Yep, absolutely.
Here's some questions you need to ask yourself about growing salvias. First, when you purchase a salvia, find out whether it's a perennial or annual variety. If you select one that's perennial in your area, make sure you site it in a location where you want it to return year after year. Now, in colder parts of the country, they're worth growing strictly as annuals, so be sure to include a few. Next, how high does a salvia grow? Well, Salvia Black and Blue grows to about 4 feet tall and enjoys hot, full sun. And finally, what types of soil does your plant need? Well, it depends on the variety. Some, like this bog sage, can take wet, heavy soils, but by and large, salvias thrive in average, well-drained garden soil. You see, salvias are a very versatile family of plants, and you can bet I'll be growing them in my garden for years to come. Now let's switch gears and head into the kitchen. I have an unforgettable recipe for honey glazed winter squash that will have your guests asking for more. As the temperature outside begins to drop, the kitchen tends to get warmer. Here's a recipe for honey glazed winter squash I know you'll love. It's always interesting to me how certain produce, like these winter squash, are so durable. Many of them, if handled correctly, can literally last all winter. These squash also supply us with a rich source of vitamin A. And in the case of this butternut squash, lots of beta-carotene. Just look at its bright orange flesh under the skin. Butternut squash is one of those signature flavors of autumn, particularly when you combine it with some savory herbs and honey. Now this recipe is so simple, and the way the honey caramelizes with the squash takes the flavor right off the charts. Butternut has always been one of my favorites, but I've found that any of the winter squash are just as delicious prepared this way. I'm starting with 2 pounds of winter squash. That's 2 squash that are medium to large like these, and I'm splitting them in half. You'll want to remove the seeds, but you don't have to bother peeling them. Then cut the squash into 1/4-inch slices. Transfer the pieces into a bowl and thoroughly coat each piece with honey. You'll need about 4 tablespoons. Next, overlap the slices in a shallow baking dish and drizzle the remainder of the honey over the top. Dot 4 tablespoons of salted butter over the squash and sprinkle it with 1 teaspoon of chopped fresh rosemary. Bake this at 375 degrees for about 40 minutes. Butternut squash served this way can make a superb addition to any fall menu. Now you have a little better idea what these flower hybridizers have been up to and what it takes to produce new varieties for our gardens. If you're like me, you can't resist trying a new flower in your garden. Now, if you'd like more information on many of the varieties you've seen in today's show and others that'll be great performers in your garden, just check out my website. That's pallensmith.com. Until next time, from the garden, I'm Alan Smith.
In this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.